The sun beat down over Sand Hollow Valley, washing the land in fierce gold. Hannah Mercer tugged her mare to a stop at the ridge, dust curling around her boots. From here she could see the sprawling Clayton Ranch, the land her family claimed should have been theirs. The dispute had been raging for 10 years, long before she was old enough to understand the words water rights and grazing claims. But she'd grown up with its bitterness on her father's tongue, and today she was crossing that border. A fence had been cut on the western lot, and she was sent to check for Clayton's sabotage. Hannah didn't believe the Claytons were devils, but she knew enough not to be stupid about danger. She nudged her horse forward and followed the broken fence line. She wasn't expecting a rider to emerge from the cottonwoods. He was tall, broad-shouldered, and rode with an easy confidence that only came from spending your life in the saddle. His hat shadowed his eyes, but she could tell he was studying her just as intently. "You're on Clayton land," the cowboy said. "Funny," she shot back. "I was about to say, you're on Mercer land." He smirked, the kind of smile that could melt snow on a mountaintop. "Gideon Clayton," he said, "and I reckon we've got ourselves a problem." Her breath caught. So this was the son of the man her father hated most. "Hannah Mercer," she replied, lifting her chin. His eyebrows raised. "Mercer. Well, that explains why you look like you're ready to shoot me. If I wanted to, you'd know." For a moment, silence. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a warm, low sound that stirred something in her chest. "Fence is cut," he said. "We were about to fix it." "So were we." An uneasy truce formed as they dismounted together. Their hands brushed once when reaching for the same wire stretcher, and a jolt shot through her like lightning. She pulled back fast. He lingered a second longer. "Hannah," Gideon said quietly, "what if this feud is just old men shouting at shadows?" She stared at him. "Are you suggesting we pretend it doesn't exist?" "No," he said. "I'm suggesting maybe you and I don't have to fight just because they do." She shouldn't have entertained it, but the way he looked at her steady sure made the world tilt. Before she could answer, gunshots cracked through the valley. Gideon grabbed her arm and pulled her behind the fence post. "Rustlers," he growled. "Or someone pretending to be." The danger drew them close. Close enough that she could feel his breath. Close enough that she realized this was the start of something dangerous and impossible to stop. Somewhere behind them, her father and his rode hard, assuming the Claytons were responsible. The same was true across the valley. The range war was about to flare hotter than ever, and Hannah knew, in her bones, that she and Gideon were already in too deep. 3 nights after the fence incident, Hannah still felt the warmth of Gideon's touch on her arm. She tried to shake it off, to tell herself he was the enemy, but something about him lingered, like a stubborn trail dust. When dusk settled, she saddled her mare. She needed air, maybe clarity. Instead, she rode straight toward the ridge that divided the 2 ranches. She wasn't expecting him to be waiting there. Gideon sat on the fallen log, hat tipped back, moonlight painting his jawline silver. "Evenin', Hannah." Her heart jumped before she could stop it. "You been following me?" "No," he said, grinning softly. "Been hoping," she swallowed. "We shouldn't be here together." "I know," he patted the log beside him, "but I still want you to sit." Against every rule she'd been raised with, she did. They talked quietly, voices low like the night itself was listening. Gideon told her about growing up with stories of the thieving Mercers. She admitted she'd heard the opposite, that the Claytons were liars and lands. "Funny how both sides swear they're the wronged ones," Gideon said. "Funny," she echoed. "Or tragic." He shifted closer, not touching her, but close enough to feel the heat between them. "Hannah, I don't want the feud to decide our story." Our story. She shouldn't have liked the sound of that, but she did. Before she could answer, they heard horses approaching. Lots of them. Gideon's jaw tightened. "My father's patrol." Hannah stiffened. "If they see me here, they won't." He grabbed her hand and pulled her into the shadows. Their bodies pressed together as the Clayton riders passed, lanterns swinging. Hannah felt Gideon's heartbeat against her own. Steady, strong, dangerously soothing. When the riders were gone, he whispered, "You okay?" She nodded, though her pulse was racing. "We can't keep meeting like this." "Probably not," Gideon said. "But I'll keep coming, anyway." Her resolve wavered. "Why?" "Because," he said, brushing a thumb lightly across her knuckles, "I've never met anyone like you, and I don't want to stop." She should have pulled away. Instead, she leaned in, and he kissed her. It was soft, tentative, filled with the kind of longing that comes from wanting something you know you shouldn't touch. When they parted, she couldn't breathe. "Hannah Mercer," Gideon murmured, forehead against hers, "you're gonna be trouble for me." "And you," she whispered back, "are already trouble for me." They stepped apart, reluctantly. She mounted her horse, heart unsteady. "This feud will kill us if we're not careful," she warned. "Then, we'll be careful," he said, "and we'll find a way." As she rode back home, she knew two things for certain. This wasn't a crush, and it wasn't something she could walk away from. This was the beginning of a love that could ruin everything, or save it. Rumors spread like wildfire. A Clayton calf found dead near Mercerland. A Mercer fence burned in the night. Cowboys traded threats in town, fists flying as tempers snapped like brittle twigs. But none of the escalating trouble came from the two people accused most. Hannah and Gideon's secret meetings, continued quiet moments carved out amid chaos. They met by the creek at dawn, exchanging stolen glances and whispered fears. They met at the ridge at dusk, hands brushing, hearts stumbling toward something deeper than either expected. The world around them grew more dangerous. One morning, Hannah arrived early and found Gideon pacing the creek bank, jaw tight. "What's wrong?" she asked. He looked up, eyes dark. "My father thinks your family poisoned our water line." Her breath caught. Didn't you know that?" "I do." He reached for her, but he doesn't, and he's sending a group out tonight to teach the Mercers a lesson. Hannah's stomach twisted. "My father already thinks your side shot at us last week." Gideon cursed under his breath. "It wasn't us." "I know." Tears pricked her eyes. "We're caught in the middle of ghosts. Neither family can let go." He pulled her close, arms strong around her shoulders. "Hannah, I won't let anything happen to you. But you can't stop a war." "Maybe," he said softly. "But maybe we can stop ourselves from becoming part of it." They clung to each other like a lifeline. That night, gunfire echoed across the valley. She waited at the ridge until her lungs burned. Gideon never came to dangerous, he'd said, but she still hoped. Then, she heard footsteps. "Gideon," she whispered. But it wasn't him. A Mercer ranch hand, Ethan, stepped forward, lantern held high. "Miss Hannah, what are you doing out here?" Her heart dropped. "I just needed air." Ethan narrowed his eyes. "This ain't the safest night for wandering. Your pa's riled up. Says the Claytons fired shots at our cattle." "That wasn't them," she said, without thinking. "And how would you know that?" he asked slowly. Panic prickled her spine. "I just do." Before he could question further, another rider approached, Clayton colors visible under the moonlight. Hannah's breath froze. It was Gideon. Ethan stiffened. "Mercer territory," he barked. "Turn around." Gideon's eyes were locked on Hannah. "I need to talk to her." Ethan drew his gun. "Not tonight, you don't." "Ethan, stop." Hannah stepped between them. Both men froze. The secret was unraveling right in front of her. Ethan's face twisted in disbelief. "You've been meeting with him, a Clayton." "Hannah," Gideon said, voice low, "come with me. I can explain everything. Just not here." Ethan raised his gun again. "You're not taking her anywhere." Hannah's heart hammered. She could feel the range war tightening like a noose around them, and for the first time, she realized this wasn't just dangerous. It was like, "Put the gun down," Hannah begged. Ethan didn't budge. "You don't know what you're doing, Hannah. That man's a Clayton." "Yes," she said firmly. "And he's not the enemy." Gideon eased his hands up. "I'm not looking for a fight." "Don't matter if you are," Ethan snapped. "Your folks have been raiding our land for weeks." "That wasn't us," Gideon said. "Someone's staring this up, rustlers, drifters. Somebody who benefits from our families, tearing each other apart." Ethan hesitated, but didn't lower the gun. Hannah stepped closer. "Ethan, please." He saved my life last week when rustlers fired at us. He never told your PA that, Ethan hissed, because I knew what he'd say. Ethan's face softened a fraction. Hannah, I'm looking out for you. I know, she said. And now I'm asking you to trust me. After several long seconds, Ethan slowly holstered his gun. If anyone asks, I didn't see either of you. Relief flooded her chest. Gideon let out a hard breath. Thank you, Gideon said. Don't thank me, Ethan muttered. This'll blow up in your faces, eventually. He rode off, leaving them in the moonlit quiet. Gideon approached Hannah, brushing her cheek with trembling fingers. I thought he was going to shoot. Me too. He pulled her into a tight embrace. I don't ever want to lose you. She sank into him. Then we need a plan. And so they made one. They rode out before dawn the next day, heading toward a canyon known for rustler hideouts. If they could find proof stolen brands, gear, anything, it might stop the feud from erupting into full war. Hours passed. Heat bore down. They searched abandoned camps, followed faint hoofprints, and scanned rocky ledges. Then Gideon spotted something. Hanutrix. Fresh. They followed the trail into a narrow ravine. Smoke drifted from a campfire ahead. Gideon motioned for silence. They crept forward until voices became clear. Staring up those ranchers is easier than talking candy from a baby, one man laughed. They're too busy shooting at each other to notice us rustlin' their stock. Hannah's pulse spiked. There. It was the truth. Before they could slip away, a twig snapped under Hannah's boot. Men leaped up. Who's there? Run. Gideon grabbed her hand. Gunshots tore through the canyon. They ducked behind rocks, dust exploding around them. We can't outrun all of them, she shouted. Then we fight. Gideon fired back, hitting one of the rustlers who rushed them. More shots rang out. Then horses thundered from the canyon mouth. Both families, cowboys rode in, guns blazing. For father, Gideon's father, all of them. Together, fighting the real enemy. By the time the dust settled, the rustlers were captured or dead. Her father dismounted, shaking with anger and confusion. Hannah, what in God's name are you doing with a Clayton boy? She stepped forward, heart pounding. Saving our families, she said. Together, cowboys tied the captured rustlers. Others tended to the wounded. The merciless sun hung overhead, watching as decades of fury dissolved into dust. Hannah stood with Gideon, hands clasped tightly. Her father stared at them. Is this true? You two have been courtin'. Hannah lifted her chin. Yes. Mr. Clayton spoke next, voice gruff. Gideon, tell me you ain't been sneaking out to see a Mercer girl. Gideon didn't flinch. I have, and I love her. A ripple moved through the gathered riders. Both fathers looked ready to explode. Then the sheriff rode up, holding a branding iron. We found this in the rustlers' camp, he said. Mixed brands from both ranches. They've been stealing from both sides. He shook his head. You Mercer and Clayton boys been fightin' ghosts, while the real thieves robbed you blind. Silence fell like a hammer. Her father looked at the evidence, then at her. You're saying those gunshots, those burned fences weren't the Claytons? No, Hannah said. They weren't. Gideon added, and the shots near our cattle weren't the Mercers. Someone wanted a war. We didn't give it to them. A long, painful moment passed. Then, Mr. Mercer sighed an old, weary sound. I've spent half my life angry at your family. Mr. Clayton nodded. And I've wasted mine, hatin' yours. Gideon squeezed Hannah's hand. Maybe it's time to stop. Her father looked at their joined fingers. Is this real, the two of you? Hannah met his eyes. It is. A softer expression flickered across his face. Well, maybe something good ought to come out of all this mess. Mr. Clayton grunted. Reckon the valley's got enough blood in the dirt. The men exchanged a slow, cautious handshake. The feud wasn't magically healed, but the fire fueling it had gone out. Later, as the sun fell behind the mesas, painting the valley in a warm blaze, Hannah and Gideon rode to the ridge where everything began. He lifted her hand to his lips. We did it. We survived, she teased. We fell in love, he corrected. She leaned into him. What now? Well, he said, pulling her close, Now we build something better than what our families tore down." She smiled, feeling the weight of years of hatred finally crumbling into nothing. "With you, Gideon, Clayton, I reckon I can face anything." He kissed her slow, sweet, full of promise. Valley was quiet, peaceful, for the first time in years, and somewhere inside that calm, their future bloomed like a wildflower, pushing through rocky soil, stubborn and full of hope. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.